Okay.
And I am in Florida. We've got Silka Hubbard, who's up in Kentucky, Tennessee. I don't know if Ray Hartwell from Georgia Cumberland is going to join us or not, but would love to have him if he is available. But we're going to get things started, and we'll start with a word of prayer. If you join me, please. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you that that we know you, that you know us, that you care about us, and that we can be about your business. So, Father, bless us this evening as we seek to serve you in the things that we say and do. And we love you, and we recommit ourselves to you afresh in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, folks, I am so glad that you guys are here. Adele, are you going to show the slides that we have, or am I going to do that?
You are going to do it.
I am going to do that. Okay, so I am sharing screen. I was not prepared for that. Let me do that real quickly. Take me just a second. Bear with me. Adele, I'm going to have to ask you to do that, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I send it to your email and I'm using my desktop. So
Okay, well, that's okay. I can find it. I can find it. Hold on a minute.
Let me.
No. I got it. I apologize, folks. Very unusual for us.
Okay. I found the webinar, so
I'm racing you. I got it too.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let me come back to my Zoom.
Okay, I give you for you to share.
All righty. Just about there, folks. Oh. Yeah, I can't get to my share while my, let's see, here we go. Hold on a minute. I got it. Okay, are y'all seeing that now?
Yes, now.
Okay. All right, I apologize. Okay, thank you guys for joining us, and again, apologize for this short delay. Retirement, something to look forward to. Some of us are already there. Some of us are still looking forward to it. Let me introduce my team. This is the Florida team, but again, we have Kentucky, Tennessee. You have myself, our treasurer, Andrew Elliott, Luis Reyes, Adele Galvis, and Maria Pino. Thank you guys for all that you do. Just want to tell you a little bit about us, and this applies for the Kentucky 10 folks as well, and Georgia Cumberland, if Ray's able to join us. We are certified by the NAD as estate planners. This is not a certification that we're not licensed financial planners, we're not CPAs, we're not attorneys, but we do go through extensive training up front, and then we have continuing education that we go through on an annual basis. And I tell you, being a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church has its privileges, and one of the best kept secrets is our department and what we are able to do for our members. Back in the day when this department was started 60 years ago, essentially we just help people do wills, but that has grown so much, and now we do more documents, powers of attorneys, healthcare surrogate. We do full-blown estate planning. We help people get qualified for VA benefits or Medicaid benefits. We do asset protection assistance so that assets are not depleted because of nursing home expenses and things like that. So this is a free service, free consultation with one of our estate planners. The preparation of the basic estate documents is included. You would, out in the real world, you'd pay at least $750 for that service. We pay the attorney, not you. So it's free to you. Also offer free notary services. And included with all this, the estate planning attorney will schedule a phone interview with you and time with you to answer any questions that you have. So, I mean, it's a phenomenal, phenomenal service. Again, that you'd easily pay $750 or even $1,000 for out in the world. So the estate planning tools, again, the documents that I mentioned earlier. I didn't mention child guardianship and also trusts. In addition to that, all of the conferences offer charitable gift annuities and endowments and charitable remainder trusts if your estate needs would require that. We also, of course, have, we support and help recommend the Southern Union Revolving Fund, or SURF. I hope everybody is familiar with that. I'm surprised sometimes that people don't know about SURF, but that is basically a savings program, a savings account like kind of program that pays better interest than what your bank is going to pay. And the monies are used for the building or the construction loans of churches and schools. So you know that your money is being well used. So if you don't already have a SURF account, that may be something that you want to look into. They currently, it's been so popular that they are actually have a freeze on new deposits right now, but that will be removed soon. So and I have lost control of my screen, Adele, so I'm going to try to get this back. My cursor is not moving. So, all right. Yeah, I'm dead in the water here. So I am going to go ahead and just encourage everybody, if you have not done your estate plan, to go ahead and reach out to your local conference. They would be happy to send you information. There's no obligation. You're not required to remember the conference or your local church in your estate plan. However, we'd love to see it when you do, but we understand there are circumstances and times when that is not possible. So there's no obligation. So that's kind of a little bit about the services that your Plan Giving and Trust Services Department offers. And again, each of the conferences offer this. Silka, I want to kick the ball to you, if I may, please, and ask you to introduce our guest speaker for this evening.
Oh, good. I don't know we started yet.
And I will stop. Adele, you're
Sorry
muted.
about that. I couldn't find the unmute button. We're all having troubles tonight. I will be happy to present Dennis Millburn. I have known Dennis now for several years, and he and his wife Bobby are wonderful people. I like hanging out with them. When we used to be at meetings, Bobby and Dennis and I were usually the first people in the gym in the morning. So that's how we get to know each other. But Dennis has lectured in the US as well as abroad. He holds a degree in business management and a master's in management. He will be presenting practical, fast-paced principles he and his wife have learned that enable him to personally live on one salary. Mr. Millburn has been a financial manager in the nonprofit sector for over 40 years and has gleaned principles from foremost lectures regarding being debt-free and how not to be ripped off. There's nothing for him that he's trying to sell or promote. He has just a burden to share cost-saving principles with people of all ages, including young families and youth, and loves to tell people on how to get ready for retirement. So that is, I think that's all I have on Dennis. Dennis, do you have anything to add? No. Yes. He's muted right now.
Dennis,
Can you unmute him?
I am asking him to unmute.
All right.
Okay, now.
Okay, he is. And I can share screen and go to the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
Dennis. Can you try to unmute yourself? Because we can't hear you right now.
Okay.
Can you as the host, yeah, there we go.
Okay, I did it once. All right.
Good.
And we
Okay,
hear you,
that
we
sounds
hear
good.
you very well now, Dennis, and
Very good.
yeah.
Okay, I'm seeing a little tiny screen. I don't know how to get that bigger, so I know what page, what I'm on. Short video.
Okay, I am asking to the people to please mute themselves, and I'm trying to mute everybody.
I can't see, but just a little tiny postage stamp screen, and I've got to read that. Can you blow that up? I can't seem to get it bigger.
Dennis, why don't you pull up your,
There we go. There we go. Exited the. All right, I'm good.
okay, good, excellent.
All right. Is everybody seeing my face?
We see the share screen, which is probably the most important, but
Okay. Okay, I got a little box that says new introducing Zoom app. I guess I get rid of that. Huh? Okay. All right, we ready to go?
Ready to go.
All right. Well, I certainly want to thank you for the opportunity of sharing. I feel very close to both conferences. I grew up in, spent my teen years and college years in Kentucky, Tennessee Conference. Worked as a treasurer at Highland Academy for 4 years and also helped out in the Treasury Department recently, just on a part-time basis. I spent 12 years as under treasurer of Florida Conference. That's been a few moons ago, but so I consider both of those conferences very special to my experience. As was mentioned, Dollars and Cents Ministry, a Christian practical approach to living on one income. There is my email. So after we get done, if you want to email me about something, feel free to do that. So you want to jot it down, just simply dsmillburn with 2 L's @gmail.com. Next screen. Okay, first of all, my disclaimer, Dennis Millburn is not a certified financial planner. He's attempting to share information. I don't like to say I'm teaching. I like to share information that I've learned through sometimes some struggles trying to put it together. Okay, you back up?
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. Just ignore it. Oh, okay. Here we go.
Okay, I don't want you to take this information, like your pastor said, don't take me for what I say. You study it out for yourself, because what I'm going to share has applied to us, and it may not apply. Your ages may be different. And also, so that's something to consider. Next slide. So making it last, this is part 4 of a 5-part series that I've done in 3 camp meetings this summer in the Southern Union. And it's a privilege to share this session with you. Next slide. Okay, making it last to when? As Christians, we ask, when do we make it last till? Certainly sustaining our life until death so as not to be a burden on our family or society, and or making it last till the Lord comes next. We have to take charge of our lives. With our health, we take responsibility of our personal beings, not depend totally on the doctor to do everything for us. My wife went into the hospital and was given a prescription. She put on there, I'm allergic to this. Well, what did the hospitalist, that's a new word that I learned, what did the hospitalist give to her but a prescription that she would have been allergic to? So we knew wisely that we have to look out for ourselves. And likewise, we need to take a responsibility for a retirement plan. It should be simple, not complex. Our investment should be easily understood, or if not, we need to learn or to change. Now, when I say learn or change, you know, I don't understand how a television works, but I know that if I turn it on, it usually comes on and I can see a program. I don't know how color goes through the air, but there's a dependability when I'm talking about stocks and bonds. There's a dependability there of what to expect. Next slide. The little aqua words that are embedded in my presentation are designed for a little fill in the blank sheet. I know you probably don't have that sheet to you, but if you'd like that, I'm sure Silke could pass that on to you. And I want to make the slides available to each of you if you'd like at the very end of the session. So life insurance, a big question. And this is not my recommendation. This is Dave Ramsey's recommendation and other individuals. They say buy term, which is a pay-as-you-go insurance. Term is a fraction of the cost of whole life, designed to cover loss of income in the case of family emergencies for young families, not retirement, unless you have minimal savings and your surviving spouse needs it to live. Next slide. My goal for you this evening is for you to understand more about planning for the rest of your life, understand about a defined benefit plan or a pension plan, if it's applicable, understand more about a defined contribution plan, a 401k, and in the church, we call it a 403b, nonprofit organization. Understand more about Social Security and plans so that you or your spouse may provide for 20 to 35 more years after retirement. Now, I grew up and have worked in the financial area all my life in conference administration, financial administration. But when it came to retirement, we should know just automatically what to expect. But I had no clue. I went to a seminar, it says, study about Social Security and Medicare. So I went to the seminar and they spent about 10 minutes sharing some of the information I'm sharing with you this evening. And then they spent 50 minutes talking about their products and what they could sell to you and how they could handle your money. Next slide. So if you're new to the United States, some of you may be immigrants, the eligibility in 2022 has to be based on 40 quarters of $1,510 each for a period of 10 years. If you earn, say, $6,000 in 1 month, that will qualify for the whole year, for all four quarters of that. Next slide. So Social Security, there's something called full retirement age, FRA, based on your year of birth. Some of us were born in the area 1943 to 54. So our full retirement age was age 66. So you can see where you may fit in that category. Next slide. When should I take my Social Security benefits? Should take it early, age 62 to 66, if you don't need the money now. Hard to make ends meet and can't continue to work, you don't need the money. You'd rather just invest it because you have other money, or your health is poor and you don't expect to live very long. Next slide. But most of us probably fit into this category. Later, 66, full retirement age, or after. If you haven't saved enough, well, how much is enough? We're going to talk about that. You want to avoid the earnings penalty. We're going to talk about that in the next slide. You want to postpone paying taxes on your Social Security because you plan to work on, or you're concerned about your spouse's future. And just as a little side note here, if one of the spouses dies, the survivor takes the higher of the two Social Security payments, whatever age category you're retired at. So you only get one of those, and it's the higher. Next slide. There's a penalty for earning too much if you retire before the full retirement age, before that 66 or 66 plus. If you retire at age 62 and you make over $19,560, every dollar you earn that you get Social Security over that, you have to give back $1. Now, I just don't like to give money back. And they're not just going to bill you for that. They're going to, what I call, suck it out of your next Social Security check. So if you wait a little longer, in the year prior to you reaching your full retirement age, you have to give back only $1 of every 3 earned, over a limit of $51,960. But after you've reached full retirement age, you can earn all you want, and you don't have to send any money back to Social Security department. So full retirement age is an excellent time to retire if you can wait that long. Next slide. So what does waiting really mean? So now, a lot of people want to retire at age 62. So what if you just wait one more year? There's a 6% increase. Now, this is not indicative of any person. This is just indicative of a comparison if you were to get $1,500. So 6% if you wait till 63, 64, 65, 66. So that's an increase of 6% a year. But if you wait until after your full retirement age, it's then 8% a year, 8% for each year. And of course, at age 70, it maxes out and you don't get any more. But look at that, $1,500 to $2,640, almost double just by waiting 8 years. The financial breaking point, they say, for retiring early at age 62 is age 78. All right, next slide. So Medicare application at age 65, you must apply for Medicare within 3 months of your birthday, either prior to or after. For Part A only, hospitalization. Even if you're working full-time, it's free, doesn't cost anything. They'll send you a card, but you're not going to use that card if you're getting medical. Don't use that card, but you're supposed to apply for it. But now when you cease working and come off of your company medical, you must sign up for Part B medical and Part D drug plan, or you will have a premium penalty increase until you do, especially for Part D. Plus, there is no Medicare available until age 65. So if you're retired at age 62, you've got to be concerned about getting medical at the high rate of expense. Silke, can you see, anybody see me on the screen? Can anybody see me?
No, we don't see you. We just see your slide.
That's fine. So if I scratch my ear, it's not a problem. Okay. All right. All right. Next slide. All right. So here's where most of the people fit in. There's women on one side, men on the other side. Let's use the one on the right-hand side. So you notice that about 50% of the people retire at age 62. So remember that slide that they miss out on that 6% increase, that 8% increase? And people that retire just before full retirement age almost 80% of men retire before that. The full retirement age, I retired at age 66 and 2/3. I didn't take advantage of all that, but I had spent 44 years working for the church, and it was time. I wanted to do something different. So, so I'm in that category. And then after full retirement age, after age 70, it's just a little bit there at the top. Next slide. Social Security, people are concerned about it running out of money. What is it, 2034 or something? They're saying it'll fall back to 75% on 75 cents on the dollar. Personally, I don't think it will do that, because politically, whoever's in power is not going to let that happen, whether it's Democrats or Republicans. The benefit, not only a benefit of a monthly check at age of retirement and for possible disability needs, but the biggest is Medicare paying 80% of healthcare costs. I remember when I was working in the Florida conference, we had somebody, and way back many years ago, the church encouraged pastors to opt out of Social Security. I remember one individual who opted out of Social Security, and of course, the past several years, 15, 20 years, we've saying, please don't opt out of Social Security because you're going to lose Medicare benefits. Pastor went in the hospital, had several $100,000 worth of expense, and he had no Medicare coverage and no medical. He wasn't working, he's retired. A real shame. I think the conference made a little allowance to help with that, not all of it, but anyway, they were generous helping there. One incident without Medicare could wipe out your entire savings without it. Next slide. So how do you find out what you're going to get? Age 62, full retirement age 70, you used to send out a sheet and would give that information. I don't know if they're still doing that or not, but they certainly don't give it to me because I'm already retired, so I don't know what's happening there. But each individual can retire separately, or one can retire and get a spouse allowance on the other at age 66 plus. You can get that spouse allowance at age 62 with a reduced benefit until they both retire on their own, if both spouses are eligible. Okay, blah, 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 blah. What is all that gobbledygook say? Let me give you an example. So my wife and I are about the same age. So I retired and I piggybacked my wife in and got a spouse allowance at 50% of what I was earning. I got that. She didn't have to work a day in her life to get that benefit because she was my spouse. Now, we figured out that if she waited until, again, we retired in 66, if she waited until she was 70, then she could retire on her own record, and we could make about $150 more a month than we did before with the half allowance. Now, I did this presentation in a seminar in my home church. My head elder says, Dennis, I think they did away with that. Well, next slide, I'll show you what the latest is in there, and you check it out. Maybe they snuck it under the door in the last month, but next slide, and we'll look at that. This is right off the web page. They don't call it a spouse allowance, they call it a benefit for spouse. So when a worker files for retirement benefits, the worker's spouse may be eligible for a benefit based on the worker's earnings, okay? The first guy. Another requirement is a spouse must be at least age 62 or have qualifying child in his or her care. Let's slip down to the next one. The spousal benefit can be as much as half of the worker's primary insurance amount. That was my amount. That's what it's called, primary insurance amount. That's what I received when I retired, depending on the spouse's age of retirement. If the spouse's receiving benefit before full retirement age, the spouse will receive a reduced benefit, which is what I mentioned, if they're not full 66. And then the last slide, the last paragraph there. If a spouse is eligible for retirement benefits based on his or her own earnings, like I mentioned, my wife waited till 70 and got that. And if that benefit is higher than the spouse allowance, then we pay the benefit, the retirement benefit. Otherwise, we pay the spousal benefits. So it's true, man or woman, doesn't make any difference. Wife can retire and husband can get the 50% if they're not earning over, eligible for more than 50% of the primary person. All right, next slide. People said, why didn't I know about this? You got to read about it. You got to find out. I said, well, I'm retired. Can I go back and get it? I said, I don't know. Call the Social Security Department and see if you can get it now and go backwards. All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit here. Freedom from debt. Credit card interest is piracy. Don't let them steal from you. Pay it off each month. So this is planning for retirement. Make sure that credit card is paid off. We've never paid a penalty. We've never paid interest on our credit card from day one. Secondly, buy used, this is my opinion. If it was session number 2, I talked a whole session on buying and selling cars and maintaining them. I recommend, this is my recommendation, my experience, buy a used vehicle that is rated excellent according to Consumer Report magazine. You look at that, you $30 a year is a wonderful benefit for all kinds of things, refrigerators, and it gives you ratings, but you get a booklet at the end of the year also with all of the foreign and domestic cars, 17 frequency of repair issues for the last 6 years for every car. You look down there and it has greater than average, much greater than average, average, worse than average, much worse than average. And you pick a car that's closest to much better than average for everything. Yes, and then you live with that for 10 years, 200,000 miles, and force yourself, if you're making payments on a car, most people think, well, I have to always have a car payment. No, you don't. Force yourself to make payments to savings after you pay it off and pay cash for the next car. Don't lease a car. It's renting and has no residual value. Buy a one-income house you can afford and pay off before retirement. Don't add equity loan to your house loan. Don't borrow against your retirement plan. Bottom line is to be debt-free by retirement. So our house was paid off about 10 years ago. So we are living on just our Social Security money, have not pulled a penny out of our 403B. With the little pension I had from the church prior to the year 2000, and then for the 403B, we've got funds in there, but we haven't used any of that. Just living on Social Security and doing better, I might add, than when we were doing working full time. And the healthcare is better too. We'll talk about that. Next slide. So you got to preserve your health. If you're going to live 20 to 35 more years, you got to think about health. It's a big concern for retirees. Maintain a reasonable weight. Reduces problems with joints, diabetes, cholesterol, heart disease, blood pressure. Take care of that. Drink water in the morning. Stay hydrated. Get your sleep. Get your fresh air and exercise. Only exercise the muscles and the joints you want to keep. Think safety. Eye, ear protection, dust mask. I look like an alien when I go out mowing my lawn. I got a long sleeve shirt on. I got ear protection. I got eye protection. Yeah, you got to take care of yourself. Stay off the roof in retirement. I could get on the roof, but I hope that I'm smarter than that. Let the young people get on the roof. So many people get on a roof. They think they're as young as they used to be, and they fall off the roof, and you just can't afford to do that. And use supportive shoes as well. Next slide. Okay, preserve your health. So eat simply and naturally plant-based. When my wife and I tend to be vegan, plant-based, low sugar, fat, eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, nuts and grains, don't overeat. We've gone to organic and non-GMO as much as we could. We take our food, we don't eat out. I have to twist my wife's arm to take her out to eat. Unique woman. Develop a consistent exercise plan. Preventative health, dental and physical exams. Make sure you do those. Floss your teeth. Helps with heart disease. Take your vacation. Find a relaxing hobby. And buy long-term health care when you're 60s. Dave Ramsey says, don't buy it when you're younger. Wait until you're in your 60s and not younger. You may not live to age 60 and you paid all that money. You could put that same amount of money into investments and have a nice nest egg to pay for your healthcare insurance if you need. Next slide. Again, I'm sharing our personal experience. We're going to switch gears again here. A lot of data, investment definitions, bonds, a debt investment in a corporation or government, stocks or equities, equal distribution of a partial ownership of a company. That's not too hard to understand, that you own a part of a company. People say, well, I don't understand stocks, so I'm not going to, that's like the lottery. I don't believe so. I'll show you a slide that shows, since its inception, how stocks have been fairly stable over the long run. Money market investments with short maturities with relatively quick access to money, lower rate of interest. Mutual funds, a group of either bonds or stocks or both. Index funds or mutual funds designed to track or match a market such as the S&P 500, or you can even get the total stock market. Great diversification. A target fund, mutual fund designed to periodically adjust stocks and bonds in your portfolio based on a future date, usually for retirement. Diversification is spreading it around. I put some money in credit union, getting peanuts, but it's just there. I can pull it out whenever I want to and don't have to worry about money coming from stock market. Tax deferred, delays taxation until withdrawn. A Roth, where you put saving deposits in after you pay taxes, but it grows tax-free and is tax-free withdrawn, a wonderful thing. Dollar cost averaging is a method of depositing a fixed amount being invested on a schedule. So every month you consistently put that money in to the stock, your stock market, your investments. If the stock market's up, you still do it consistently, to discipline yourself to do it. If it's down, you're buying on sale, you're buying stocks on sale. And when it goes back up, then you reap the benefit, but it's doing it every month consistently. EFT, marketable securities like a mutual funds with quicker access, electronic fund transfer. Next slide. So retirement savings, the best time to plant an oak tree is today. Best time is really several years ago, but if you haven't gotten yourself into gear, I didn't really start thinking about it until I was close to 60. And then I said, man, I got to find out what this retirement stuff is all about, and Medicare, and it's gobbledygook. I've got to figure it out. So I got a book called Retirement Made Simple, just a thin book. I read it. I got another one and read it. I got one called Retirement for Dummies. That was good. I didn't have to read all the handicap part and the divorce and marriage, because we've been married for 46 years this year. So pick out what meets your needs. Experts recommend at least put 10% in. The US average is 5%. Save for emergencies by keeping some in ready liquid savings. And in 2022, your 401k or 403b, you can put in 20,500. If you're over age 50, you can add another 6,500. So man, when I got close to retirement, man, I was out because my house was paid off, no car payments since 1985. I was chunking in like 50% of my paycheck into there, trying to get it in gear. A Roth must be payroll deducted after tax, but tax-free forever. Add extra to retirement. Take at least the minimum if your organization has a matching program, a 401k, and they have a matching program. If you pay a certain amount, they'll match it, put it into your fund, take advantage of the full thing. That match is worth 100% interest in one day. Can you get any investment that's better than that? So you put your $100 in or whatever, and the organization gives you $100 on that day, 100% interest. Payroll deduct, so you never see it. It's a wonderful thing to payroll deduct. Each time you get a raise, add 1% or more. Dave Ramsey suggests working towards 15% payroll deductions. The path to success is payroll deductions. Next slide. Okay, for those of you who do not have a 401k or 403b, there's an individual retirement account. It's a little skimpier there. You can only put in $6,000 a year. And that hasn't changed much. The federal government hasn't changed much there over the past several years. But if you can put it in a Roth IRA after taxes, that's good. Excuse me. So there's a catch-up provision there too, a little bit, not much, but at least it's something to put in, get a savings plan, investment plan set up. Next slide. So why invest in equity stocks? Parable of the talents, Jesus said it to the one who had one talent. He says, at least you could have put it in at interest, implying that there were other investments other than minimal interest savings accounts or CDs. Equities or stocks have a known track record despite all US wars and calamities, no 10-year period with a loss through all the wars and major crises. So when you're investing in stocks, you're thinking in retirement, you're thinking about the long term. People get very nervous if it goes down one day. Oh, I've lost several $1,000s today. No, you haven't. It's only if you pull it out. We're going to look at the slide that shows how it's done. But diversify, put it in different places. Don't put it all in one fund or one stock. I don't recommend, and neither does Dave Ramsey, recommend individual stock. Buy index funds, lots of stocks in a fund, and it tracks the S&P 500 or the total stock market. Select a reputable mutual fund. You can go online with them and look at how they're doing over the 5-year, 10-year, or the lifetime. Their computer will analyze the best buys, and one of those companies, and again, I'm not selling anything, I'm just sharing with you what I've read and what I've found out. Vanguard Investments, they're the ones that have traditionally had the lowest fees. They're the ones that invented the index funds and mutual funds. But 3/4 of the index funds beat the experts who try to time the market. Those are the certified financial planners that are going to make money off yours and take 1% or more of your total fund. 3/4 of the index funds beat the experts who try to time the market. So I did not have a financial planner. Next slide. So here's the slide from 1897 to about 2020 or so. Look at that. There's the 1929. There's a little blip there for COVID. We thought it was a huge thing almost at the end there. But you see, that's the trajectory there is a long-term thing. And it's a beneficial thing to just stay in the market. Next slide. Inflation averaged over 3% over the last 40 years. So if you buy a CD or a passbook, you may get 1%. So You subtract from that 3% inflation, you've lost money. Your buying power has gone down in the first year. Equities average 8%. Over the last few years, I think mine has been more like 10 or 12%. So minus the 3% in this example here, because you're 5% growth. Pay taxes when you pull it out. If you pay taxes 20%, you still come out with 4% net gain. The fear of the market fluctuation. A coward dies 1,000 deaths. A hero dies one. A hero is the one who puts it in, leaves it in. I have a friend who was encouraged to pull their money out. The church started in the year 2000 with the 403B. And as you recall, the stock market was going down every year till 2008. Maybe I was dumb and foolish. I left my money in there. My friend pulled his out, and he pulled it out at the low, lost money because he pulled it out. And then it shot up, and it's like 3 times. I made 3 times what I put in there. So a coward, when they lose money like that, they typically never want to go into stocks anymore because they've lost money. But a hero dies once because you have intestinal fortitude to weather through the COVIDs and the wars and all. Once you put the equities into a plan, don't mess with the recipe. Don't constantly be changing your investments. The word is discipline, not emotion. Now, I'm putting money in investments right now. About 10% of what I'm getting from Social Security, I'm putting in investments. I just put some in this past week. The stock market is down, so it's on sale. So I'm buying stocks. So when it goes back up, which it will, and people say, well, there'll be a time when it crashes. Well, when closer to the Lord's coming, it will crash. We'll have terrible things, but so will everything else. So Christ says, occupy until I come. And we need to use our head, be good stewards of the talents the Lord has given to us. Next slide. So here's what compounding does. Albert Einstein said one of the greatest wonders of the world is compounding interest. So here's no interest, that red line, 6% interest. So we started about 50,000, and if you can get 10%, you make almost 6 times as much money than just getting no interest at all, or getting a CD. Next slide. Jack Bogle, as I mentioned, founder of Vanguard, creator of the index fund and low interest, says, you've heard the phrase, don't just stand there, do something. For investors who rationally make a plan, by far the best advice is don't do something, just stand there. Next slide. Dave Ramsey tells the story of, he's a millionaire, and I'm sure you've heard about Dave Ramsey and his seminars. I've sat in on some of those. I wholeheartely agree with the majority of what he shares. But he was wanting to meet a billionaire, and he said, well, what am I going to learn from this billionaire? I'm just anxious to meet him. And so he was looking forward to that day. And so he finally met with this billionaire, and he says, I'm going to share a book with you. He says, wow, what is the book? It's a secret. The secret is the book called The Tortoise and the Hare. The jackrabbit is buying individual stock, running with it, taking a nap, losing, going up and down, and the tortoise is just plodding along, just one day at a time, dollar cost averaging, putting money in every month consistently. It didn't make any difference what the stock market is. I look at the stock market every day, pretty much every day, just curious to know what it's doing today. But the tortoise is just plodding along, and who wins the race? The tortoise. The tortoise wins the race because he's disciplined and he stays in there. Next slide. stock market timing. The key to stock market success isn't your timing of the market, it's time in the market. The longer, the better. Next slide. So what is a target fund? A target fund is a fund that, based on your age, when you plan to retire, say you plan to retire in 2030, then that would be kind of a sample of what the ones that are starred are stocks down at the bottom. So the farther out you are, the more stocks there are, and it changes every year as it gets closer. As it gets closer and closer to closer and closer to your retirement, then it automatically adjusts to bonds. But I might mention that Dave Ramsey does not recommend bonds. He said they're, in his opinion, they're a waste of time. So I've started out with that, and I had like 80% stocks, 20% bonds, and I've basically got out of bonds because they've been losing money. So I don't like things that lose money. Next slide. So how to not run out of retirement money? So let's say this is just an example. You can scratch this out on a piece of paper and figure out what it is for you. Let's say your current earnings are $50,000, a modest amount, one income. So you can say, well, okay, how can I live on 80% of that? Well, you need less money for income. Your house is paid off. You don't have any car payments. You don't have to buy work clothes. You're not driving to the office every day. So they say the range could be between 70 and 100%. If you have a pension plan, you can factor that in. In this example, I don't have that. Social Security benefits, just as an example, $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year. Okay, so we're now short $16,000. So how are we going to make up with that $40,000? Next slide. So assuming, working backwards, we need $16,000. So if we can earn 4%, then we need $400,000 in savings in investment stocks. And as I mentioned, the average has been closer to 8% over the long haul. So you'd only have to have $200,000 in there. But the more you have, the better. 4%. So if you earn 4% with your savings, and you need 4% to live on, then there's no change in total savings. Or you can purchase an annuity. Phil mentioned that there's charitable annuities with payout of a certain amount. Investments in stocks and bonds, some years they're going to earn less and some are more. But the experts used to recommend, if you only took out 4% a year out of your investments, you should not ever run out of money as long as you have it invested in stocks. Okay, but keep some savings in liquid cash in investments, in investment portfolio. Next slide. So investment tolerance. So there's conservative people, they don't like risk, but in order to preserve value of savings, you need to understand that some risk needs to be taken, keep up with inflation. There are the moderates, willing to take some risk, but are cautious, and they're aggressive. Sometimes they can be too aggressive into buying individual stock is what I would call being more aggressive, trying to beat the market, trying to pick the Teslas and those types of stocks that are up and down. I believe the prudent investor needs to be all of these. When you're young, 20 years of age, 100% stock. I still like not individual stock, the index funds, but as you get older, then be a little more conservative. That's my opinion. Next slide. So my wife had cancer, and as a celebration, after she had the cancer and was done with her chemo, we took a cruise up the East Coast. We used to live in Massachusetts, worked in Massachusetts, but we wanted to go up the East Coast. We stopped at New York and went to New York Stock Exchange. Out in front of there was this bronze little girl with her hands on her hips, like, I can do this too. And I said, wife and daughter, I'd like for you to pose there too. And I want to put this slide in my presentation. So you don't need to be afraid of it either. Next slide. Can you manage your own money? It all depends. And that's not something you wear. If you're financially savvy and you're willing to monitor it, yes. If you're not financially savvy and would rather do something else, I say, I don't want to deal with any of my finances, then you're going to take a financial hit. You're going to hire somebody else to do it for you. And if you have considerable funds, then you're probably best to hire a trusted financial advisor. Next slide. All right, now we're going to switch gears into medical. This is a biggie. Medicare, we're going to talk about two different things. Medicare Advantage. Now, I hope maybe I'll burst some people's bubbles, but I said, well, I don't understand Medicare Advantage. It acts like Medicare, but it's actually a private company. 100% of that company's benefits are paid from the company. There's not a dollar that comes from the Medicare fund for that. So and these are the ones that are advertised on TV, 0 premiums, no copays for preventatives. And it's like, wow, why would I want to buy a Medicare supplement if I can get this free? Okay, so, but I've had physicians tell me, and AARP, if any of you have subscribed, I've subscribed to their magazine just to get information, not necessarily political, but they're saying some of the people who get Medicare Advantage, they have a hard time getting the medical care that they need at a timely basis. They have to fight for it. Whereas if they go with the original Medicare, which is under Medicare supplement, then it flows through very quickly for the 20% that Medicare doesn't pay. So Medicare supplement, or also called Medigap, it allows you to use any place that accepts Medicare. You don't have to be just in Florida in the network of a Medicare Advantage. You can go anywhere that in the United States that accepts Medicare. So here's an example. My wife, as I mentioned, had cancer. We were encouraged to get the supplement, pay a premium each month, consistent cash flow, pay a premium. Her bills were somewhere in the neighborhood of $700,000, $800,000, $900,000. You know how much we paid out of pocket aside from the premiums? 0. We paid not a penny out of pocket. No copays, no deductibles. That's true of all of our medical. No copays, no deductibles, except for the Social Security or Medicare has a deductible with like a couple $100 a year. But I went to one of these Medicare Advantages in Atlanta, and WellCare, I think is the name of the company. And they were going through and talking about all the benefits of free premiums and all the benefits, silver sneakers and all these things. And everybody's saying, wow, 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 wow. But then we got to the back of the book where the fine print is. It says if you go into the hospital, one day is a copay of $600 and some one day. So if you're in there for 5 days, you paid $3,000. So there's all kinds of copays deductible. I don't pay any of those. 100% is paid Medicare supplement. Something to think about. You do the research. You check it out. Next slide. So with something called required minimum distribution, when you reach age 72, you have to withdraw some of that tax deferred investments after age 62, or you will pay a huge penalty. How much is huge? Huge penalty is, my understanding, 50%. So if you're supposed to pull out $10,000 that year and pay tax on it, they penalize you for $5,000. So it's very important that you understand, and your investment company is pulling out those funds for you and giving you a taxable thing so that you can pay your taxes on that. So how do they calculate that? That's something I'm curious. I wanted to know, how did they figure that? So they take your deferred money at the year end, whatever the balance is. They look at a table, life expectancy table, that's consistent for the whole US. And in this example, if you had 200,000 in tax deferred money, you didn't pay, you got deducted from your paycheck and you didn't pay taxes on it. Divided by 17.2 years, that's from the expectancy table, then you'd pay 11,627 would be taxable income added to your regular income that year. And then each year, your balance is going to be different. Your life expectancy table is going to be different. So recalculate. And your investment company should contact you, but you better make sure that they do. Next slide. There's something called in the IRS records called combined income. It takes your joint returns, your wages, if you work part-time, your interest, your dividends, your pension, other taxable income, and a portion of your Social Security payments. And if your total of that combined income is under 25,000, then you pay no taxes on your Social Security income. If the total is between 25 and 34, then 50% of that Social Security income is taxable, not taxed, but taxable. Gets thrown into the rest of your tax income. And if it's over 35, a maximum of 85% is taxable to you. Next slide. Okay, money isn't everything. Now we're going to my opinions. What are we at? Slide number 51. We're getting close to the end here. Ideally, this is my opinion. Ideally, it's best to work until full retirement age because most benefits begin and penalties cease at that time. Retire when things are still going great. Don't wear out your welcome and start slipping on duties. I know people that the administration wishes that they would retire, but they can't encourage them to retire. They can't push them out. They can't say, hey, that's against the law. But they think, now's the time. But you can tell whether you're appreciated and whether new blood needs to come in there. We are not indispensable. Some take virtue in wanting not to rust out, but to wear out. Neither should we wear out our employing organization. Leave with dignity. Plan to spend several years doing what you and your spouse want to do while your health is good. You can travel, you can got grandkids, hobbies, teach. You can do part-time work and you do seminars like this. There is life after retirement. I'm a woodworker. I make cutting boards and serving trays and sell them in a gift shop in North Georgia. I do these seminars, not full-time. I have grandkids, and as we speak, I am literally building a house. Not me personally, but I'm supervising the construction of a house in North Georgia. Next slide. And I'm busy. Money isn't everything, my opinion. Part 2, remember that when you do retire, you may go from an authority that is highly respected to a nobody. I have a family member who was in conference administration, high up in conference administration, retired. And I read him the first part of this. And when I came to the part, he said, yeah, you become a nobody. Understand also that when you're getting older, there are 3 stages. There's a go-go stage where you get the motor home and I'm retiring, let's go see the world. I've seen the world. My wife and I have been to all 50 states. We do it while we're working. We've been to over 50 countries of the world. We don't need the go-go stage. We like to just relax a little more. But the next stage is the slow go, want to settle down and relax. And then there's the no-go stage, the assisted living or nursing home. But we weren't designed to live forever. So don't be frustrated with your body and mind changing. That is just natural. Next slide. So money is like manure. When it's piled up, it stinks. One person said, well, I got to have $1 million before I can retire. Well, why? Why do you have to have $1 million? Have you done the calculation? How much do you need in retirement? That's what this seminar is about, is to help people know what they need to have in retirement. But when it's spread around, it does a lot of good. I'm giving more money to the church since I've been retired than I was doing before, because the Lord has blessed. Next slide. Tithing in retirement. So how do you figure tithe in retirement? If you paid tithe on your gross income during working period, you paid tithe on half of your Social Security income. Your employer paid half of the FICA. That's the 7.65 that was deducted from your check, but they also had to match that 7.65%. And so when you get your Social Security payment, technically splitting hairs, and of course I'm an accountant, I want to look at it and determine, so you can pay on half of that. You can pay on 100% of it if you want. That's fine. The Lord will bless. But if you want to split hairs and look at that, you can. That's how you would do that. In a defined pension plan, however, where you didn't pay anything, it was totally paid by your employer. So that'd be 100% tithable. And in a defined contributions, in the church, they give a 5% base, and they have a match. And so it's a little harder to calculate, but you can figure that out. And when you pull it out, you can make that tithe payment. Next slide. Remember, it's all the Lord's. Don't waste it or hoard it. Lay up for yourself treasures in heaven. Be faithful in tithe and be a good example. Be liberal with offerings. Spread it around. Help people individually as well as organizations. Volunteer your time and talents. If you want to increase your money, give more. God is looking for liberal people to take to heaven. And I want to be a liberal person. And I'm not being paid to say this. Now that I'm retired, I'm a lay person. All right. So next slide, maybe the last. We'll see. Yep, it's the last. Okay. There you can go on to that website and you'll receive all 5 of my session slides. If you want to write it down, that stands for GSC, that's Gulf States Conference of SDA.org/dollars. Remember, there's 2 S's there, dollars slides, and there would be all 5 sections. And now, that was a few years ago, so the updating, I don't have 2022 information there. It's probably 2016 or 2017, but you get the idea. It's basically the principles are still there. So that's the end of my presentation. I wish you well. I hope that the Lord will bless you as you make occupy until he comes. And we all want to do that. And thank you for the opportunity of sharing. I hope that something here may have been a blessing to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis, very, very much. It's very, very kind of you to share your evening with us. I learned a lot, and I'm sure that a lot of folks picked up on some great tips and great advice, as well as just some good facts to know. There were some questions in the chat.
Okay.
One of them was referring to SURF, and does it pay interest? And it does pay interest. I think it's currently paying 2%.
2%, yes.
Yes.
Yep. And then they loan the money out to churches and schools at, is it 3% above what they're paying?
I think it's, I think the spread is more like 2%. Silka, you may, I think it's at least 2% spread. So it'd be at least 4%.
Yeah, Maria's saying 2%. So basically, and that just covers their expenses and stuff like that. So it's a very nominal spread.
And any money that they make goes back to the conferences to use for their building projects as well. So that's a benefit. I used to work as the under treasurer at the Southern Union, and I'm still privy to a little bit. My son-in-law was elected to take my place. I had nothing to do with it, but he was elected to take my place after I retired.
Okay. Well, very good. I did want to share, if I can, if it will let me, a couple of things, couple of slides. Are you guys seeing my screen now?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm seeing it.
So we do have another webinar scheduled for October 25th. It's about year-end tax planning, things that you can do before the year ends to minimize your tax obligations for the following year. So we look forward to offering that. And if you received an email about this webinar, you will also receive information on that one. You can also contact us anytime. And this is the Florida conference information. And then, and I'll go back to that. But also, if you're in Georgia or Southern Tennessee, you can reach out to Ray Hartwell. And here is his information. And in Northern Tennessee or Kentucky, you can reach Silka at this phone number or this email. And we've gone over a little bit tonight. We try not to do that, but we had we stuttered a little bit, stuttered and sputtered a little bit in the beginning, and I apologize for that. But we are so thankful that you guys are here. And if anybody has any questions at this point, we would be happy to entertain those either through the chat, or you could unmute yourself and just share with us what your thoughts are.
Yes, there are a couple of questions. One was if Mr. Millburn is going to share the PowerPoint.
Yes, that was on the website at the last. All of these slides are in a PDF format. That gscsda.org.
Okay. I will send the link to everybody that came to the
If they didn't
webinar.
write it down. Yeah, if they didn't write it down. Somebody was asking an individual Vanguard Wellington, and I'm just saying that look at what they have and look at the 5-year and 10-year or the lifetime thing. And I might just add, just humorously, I say if you have a question, feel free to contact me. I'll give you an opinion. It may not be right, but it's at least my opinion that day. So at least maybe point you in a direction of where you might get the better information.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, I think that covers everything. Does the church have a program for Adventist financial coaches to promote their services? Michael, I don't know about anything such as that. Dennis, do you know anything about that?
No, I'm not aware of anything.
Does the church have a program for Adventist financial coaches? The only thing I'm familiar with is, we do have a program like the Dave Ramsey program. And that can be taught in our churches, but that's on a volunteer basis. And so, but through those or through offering a Dave Ramsey at your local church or other churches, there may be opportunities to, coach folks, financially.
I might add that what I do and what I really enjoy doing is doing all 5 presentations at a local church where I can see people and they can see me, and I've got props and all. We do it on a Sunday, like 10 to 4 with an hour off for lunch. And we cover the whole gamut of finances, and basically just ask travel expenses, willing to stay in people's homes, eat in their homes, a small honorarium. We just enjoy doing that. Probably later in the year after I get my house done and we get moved. But that's the only thing I know of. I know there's something for denominational workers. Dell Johnson has done some for denominational workers in retirement, but he doesn't get into the nitty gritty of buying and selling houses and cars and that kind of thing, which I cover. So.
Very, very good. All right. Well, we've gone way over. I apologize for that, but Dennis, just an excellent, just a lot of information, like drinking from a fire hose. So thank you very, very much. That's great. And folks, if Silka or I or Adeli, Maria, if any of us can help you with your estate plans, your estate documents, please reach out to us. It's our ministry. It's what we love to do. As I told you earlier, there's no cost and there's no obligation. So doesn't hurt you a bit. And thank you all very, very much for being here. And with that, I think we will say good night.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Thank you for coming.
All right.